right.
Almost. You gotta test the chat before we know for sure whether we're there.
Right.
Almost. You gotta test the chat
Oh.
before we know for sure whether we're there.
Gotta mute this.
Right.
It says live on YouTube.
Okay, there we go. I had to mute YouTube, otherwise you get a bunch of feedback. There we go. Okay. Okay, you're good.
All right, thank you. As we are beginning this January 12th, 2021 Planning Commission meeting, I'll just call the meeting to order, and then we'll start off with, do we need to do attendance first and then do the, okay, so we'll do roll, and then we'll move on to elections.
Please make sure you say that you're via Zoom and where you're located at.
Right, and so if I'll just call Freeling,
Present via Zoom, Baroda Township.
Rodney Krieger
Here, Coloma.
via Zoom. Greg Lammert,
Present via Zoom in Benton Harbor Township.
Eric Lester,
Present via Zoom, St. Joe Township.
James Schoeneman,
Present via Zoom, Oro Valley, Arizona.
Lee Van Gehoven.
Present via Zoom, Lincoln Township.
Okay. Next, we will have our elections. So the nominating committee presented last month, and the nominations for chair was Eric Lester and vice chair Greg Lammert. Are there any other nominations at this time?
I move that nominations be closed.
Thank you.
Nominated.
So any
Sure.
further discussion? So does somebody want to make a motion to accept?
Make a
Or a
motion that we
motion?
accept the board as proposed and as the nominations as proposed.
I will second that. Schoeneman seconds.
Thank you. We'll do roll. Freeling,
I'm going to vote yes.
thank you. Krieger,
Yes.
Lammert,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Schoeneman,
Yes.
Van Gehoven.
Yes.
Okay, and with that, now I'll pass the torch over to Mr. Lester, to Commissioner Lester, to handle the next item on the agenda.
Thank you. I'm honored by this vote. I'll do my best not to mess things up too much. I think our next item is is approval of the minutes. Someone who attended the meeting, if they have read the minutes, could they make a motion to approve?
I make a motion that we accept the meeting minutes as written.
Thank you, Lee. Second?
Second by
This is Lee.
Schoeneman.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Greg seconds. Greg Lammert. If there's no discussion, I guess we have to take a formal vote. Is that right? We go down the list?
Yep.
Yes.
Typically, it's one of our clerks who reads the list, but
Yep,
And I
I
don't
can
have
go
it in
ahead and
front of
do
me.
that. Sure, just,
I could try to remember it.
yeah, I have, here we go. I have it on my,
Krieger,
Freeling,
Freeling.
Yes.
Krieger,
Abstain I was not present at that meeting.
Okay, Lambert,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Schooneman,
yes,
Van Gehoven.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Katie,
Yeah.
for point of order, just for clarity purpose, we've had this discussion at the county commission board as well. If you've not been present at the meeting, you can't make the motion. You can support it and you can vote on accepting it. You just can't make the motion. Is my understanding from Robert's rules.
That's correct.
Thank
I'm
you.
chickened out, I guess.
No, I just wanted to let you know,
Thank you. I will
because there was
remember
even
that.
question from our board of
Okay.
how to proceed with that.
I'll remember that.
No worries.
Yeah. I just didn't want to vote on something I was totally ignorant of. That's all.
Understood. No worries.
Okay, the minutes are approved. Communications. Katie, do we have communications?
No, I don't think we have any new communications at this time.
Thank you. Annette, if you can hear me, are there any public attending through YouTube? Is there any other public attending any other way? And does any public wish to make a comment?
Yeah, so there's, it looks like there might be 2 people watching, and I think I'm one of them, so. And I've asked about 3 or 4 times, and it does not appear as though you have any public comments. I'll
Okay.
keep an eye on it though, and if something happens, I'll wave my hands or something to let you know.
Well, we
Thank
thank
you.
the one mystery watcher and would. be
Maybe
happy
it's
to hear-
JB.
That might be you. Do we have any old business? Katie, do you have any old business? Bring.
No, not at this time. I'll kind of address it, I think, more on miscellaneous.
Okay,
If that's
fine.
okay with you.
New business, there's a master plan review for the city of Coloma.
Okay. I did forward you the presentation, but I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully you don't get all the other garbage that's on the screen. So let's see how this works. Can you see a screen with?
We see
Yes.
Berrien
Presentation?
County
Yeah.
Planning Commission,
All
Yes.
right.
summary on the
Um,
left-hand side.
Oh, it does show that summary. So let's see if I hit play, what happens. Oh, that's
There you
really
go,
large.
your full screen now.
Okay.
Okay.
Full screen. So for the city of Coloma master plan, this is I think partially one of the reasons of many that Julia had stepped down, because she was going to probably be involved in implementing a lot of this in their master plan. But the city had taken on the activity of updating it. It's fairly comprehensive, and they did seek some outside assistance, I think, from Williams and Works. So they did have a professional planner assist them through this process. Some highlights was that they recognized the surrounding land uses of Coloma Township. So obviously they weren't completely siloed in just their own jurisdiction, but recognized the importance of what the surrounding land uses are for coordinating and implementing future land use plans. And they also took into account the acknowledgement of our local and regional governments too. So particularly with parks, they're heavily influenced in the region in development, and so as well as the county and Southwest Michigan Planning Commission. So what came out of their core vision, or their areas that had kind of a thread of focuses, was categories of viability, livability, sustainability, accessibility, and commonality. So that's kind of the highlights of their goals and objectives. Let's see here. Here is their future land use map. This is generally what we look at. One of the highlighted, or the main areas that I always take a first quick glance at when I see a master plan, is to look at what their future land use map is, and to see if there's any significant or any big changes or conflicts with the surrounding area, and in particular with our county master plan. But we know we're updating our master plan, and being that this is a city, they kind of, have a small jurisdiction of land uses to cover and manage. So they did have pretty much, I like how they simplified it to modern residential, traditional residential. They called their downtown just their downtown community, their commercial district and industrial, and then they acknowledged their civic because of the schools and parks. So then they also, what's nice is this is a quick, easy guide. They also address their zoning plan of how they would address this in a zoning ordinance amendment or update with what these land uses are with compatible zoning districts. And then their goals and objectives. These were, I thought it was visually pleasing. I don't know if any of you were able to access it. Sometimes so it was a very large file, but it was accessible online. But it did have, at one point when I went in, it wanted me to Dropbox it, which is, it's computer talk that I know what it does, but I generally don't want to Dropbox stuff. But I was able to view the document just on my computer screen. But then I went into another maybe web browser, and it could have just been I was having internet issues, but I wasn't able to open it. So I hope that everyone had the opportunity to at least take a look at it and access it. If you didn't, it is visually appealing. They had, nice format and design, and they made it, fairly easy to read and access, to find, to be able to go back and look at areas that might be of interest to them. One fun fact, or, not acknowledgement that they that they recognized, was that they are attracting younger population. Their highest population was from 4 to 14 is the largest population within the next category of the 43s to 48s, or, somewhere in that range, the upper 40s age range, recognizing that they are attracting families to the area. And so they wanted to make sure that those amenities to ensure for more attraction as well as retention, and also to make sure that they're having the opportunity to attract members of all age and race. So I just kind of hit their focus on each category for their under their goals and their vision. And I just hit the goals. They had objectives with those, or action strategies, but I didn't. I mean, it's in the document, but I kind of hit the main goals. This is their compass of where they're heading towards. So in viability under the development and redevelopment, their goal 1 is to focus land regulation in the city, to permit a variety of quality commercial, industrial service establishments, including clean and desirable employment opportunities, and flexible and desirable job producing development. Their goal 2 is they recognize that Pawpaw, the river, is an economic development opportunity. And their goal 3 is they also acknowledge that the Michigan Shore viticulture, or the wine industry, is also an economic development opportunity for their area. They also are participating or in the process of the redevelopment ready community program that's sponsored through the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. So this is a process that one of the many steps is to also take a look at their master plan and their zoning ordinances to make sure that they are compatible and ready for the opportunities to be redeveloped. So there's a very long set process, and it's once they get the the status or the approval of their RRC, then there's other incentives to help bring businesses and resources to the city. So it's exciting because there's many other communities in Berrien County that are participating in this program, and it's good to have it spread out throughout the geography of the county. Livability, this is where they focus on housing in neighborhoods. Their goals are to include a broad range of residents and housing types intended to serve the entire spectrum. They kind of limited this to 8 and 80, but the idea is eight young and old, the whole spectrum of residents. Then the goal 2 was the city's neighborhoods will be attractive and connective, safe and walkable. Again, these are also things that are high scoring or very important with the redevelopment ready community. And then zoning standards will be structured to support the goals of the master plan, which then would also with the awareness of making sure they're protecting private property rights of landowners. So cognizant of what's going on, to be on the edge or to be ready for what comes next, but also respect the rights of what's going on currently. Under sustainability, they focused their area on recreation and the natural environment. So in these areas, they wanted to promote sustainable use for the groundwater, surface water, and the Pawpaw River area to ensure that there's no environmental degradation and limit pollution and contaminants going into those water systems. And then also focus on recreational opportunities to attract and retain residents and visitors. On accessibility, this is where they incorporated the utilities, mobility, and infrastructure, which encompasses their utilities, what they currently have, and encouraging development that is consistent with their local regional land use. And that's also financially able to be maintained. Then they also want to focus on complete streets, which is a buzzword that's certainly something we could talk about in a topic of the month at a planning commission meeting. So the complete streets, they went into some detail on that for non-motorized facilities, and create more linkages for access for employment, neighborhood services. So just basically it's the infrastructure of the community. On the commonality, they focus this or categorize this to placemaking and regional coordination. And downtown Coloma will serve as the area's traditional economic and social, cultural, and core characterized by inviting walkable streets, the business district, entertainment services, and also maybe to provide different housing alternatives for the community and visitors. For future growth and development, public service and preservation will be guided in a manner that considers the region context of Coloma and Coloma Charter Township, as well as fostering positive relationships with the neighboring communities. And that's really all I have for the update. I thought it was well done, and I think actually Coloma was very overdue for a master plan. I don't know if they even maybe had one prior to this. So,
hey, Katie, can I interject the thought here?
Sure.
Is this master plan completed, or is it just being put out there for people to look at right now, or is it finished?
It has been completed, and it is in the stages of the review period, so it will be adopted. The notice we received was that they have the 63 days of comments. So we're within our time frame to comment on their master plan.
Where would, in this series of pages, where would they put in their planning for, proper or upgraded or high speed internet? Because I didn't see anything that showed me anything in those other slides that showed me anything that mentioned that. And the only reason I'm trying to put that in there is I think this is something that we need to really emphasize within the county, that when our municipalities and townships do their master plan, that they take a look at this so that we can upgrade that whole system so that we can provide that throughout the county.
Mm-hmm. I don't have the plan in front of me, and I'm struggling trying to get out of this screen. And I think maybe it has to be when I finish it, it'll let me access it. But where that kind of statement, I think, would go under their strategy of the infrastructure, the utilities and the infrastructure component under that goal. Additionally, they did just give generalized updated information about what's encompassing the city demographically and the resources and services. That could also be another area that could highlight that. But that's certainly a comment we could send back to the municipality.
How do others feel about the internet issue? That seems to me like a good suggestion from Jim.
I certainly agree with that comment.
Mm-hmm.
Good, thanks, Lee. Katie, maybe you could look into that when we're finished offline and just pass that comment to them. Do we need to do a formal vote on the master plan review of the city of Coloma?
No.
And Terry just sent out a chat indicating that we would need 2/3 of the members, irrespective of whether they're present, I believe, irrespective of whether they're even appointed, in order to do a formal approval. Is that right? Your understanding, Terry?
From what I'm reading in our ordinance, a affirmative vote on the adoption of a plan, a recommendation of adoption, or any amendment to a plan requires a 2/3 of the total number of seats for the member of the commission to be able to take place. At this point in time, we're not at a 2/3 number.
Right.
Because our membership is made up of 11.
Right. And to also clarify that we only make comments on master plans to cities and in general in any master plan. We don't have a vote of yes or no. It is just a comment period. So, and because we don't have a majority or a quorum at this point, it would just be a staff review. So your comments would be incorporated in that review.
Right.
I mean,
So Katie
the
and
next
Terry,
item for the zoning amendments would end up having to clarify that we didn't have a quorum. However, these were the comments. They can take it and go with it. Feel.
if we were approving our own master plan, we'd have to have 2/3 of the number of seats. But for these other people's master plans, we can just give comments as the board is.
Right.
And move on. Does that sound reasonable, Terry, to you?
Sounds good.
And we'll also specify in our letter to the to the city with regards to the master plan that we reviewed it at this state. There wasn't a quorum. However, here are the comments.
Right.
Perfect.
Very good. Is there any other discussion about the Coloma plan?
Just for the information of the group, I just pulled it up on my phone and looked through it. And in the utilities section, I do not see any mention of a technology infrastructure.
Right.
It's a worthwhile comment to make to them.
Yeah.
They will want to
Absolutely.
consider it. Katie, do you know if they had a consultant draw up this plan or?
They did. Yeah, they did seek some assistance from,
Yeah.
I think it was William and Marks.
Okay, well, they may want to send that back to their consultant as well to have some boilerplate put in. Anything else about the city of Coloma from anyone?
No, I thought it was a pretty good plan.
Yeah, it's lovely looking. Compliment them on the quality of it, please.
Will do.
Why don't we go on to text amendments, the St. Joe Charter Township revised zoning ordinance.
Yes. So again, we can't formally take action on it. However, I'll just go through it with you, and I will send the municipality that we didn't have a quorum, but we did review it and go that route. It'll be more of a staff review. So I did go through this. This isn't a complete rewrite. However, they did do a lot of updates, and those updates, which is a compliment to the municipality, is that they're in reference to their updated master plan that they recently did maybe a year and a half ago. So this is the implementation of the master plan by taking a look at their zoning ordinance and making the recommendations. So the areas that they made some changes, I may have added a few more as I went through, because they did kind of have them, the old ordinance to the new ordinance, and went page by page and kind of went through it that way. So I have a lot of chicken scratches going on my notes, but I think I consolidated them into a few slides here for you. But the main areas were district consolidation and their zoning map. They also clarified their yard types, and they provided a better graphic clarification, which I have in the slides to just, sometimes they described it with words, but sometimes if you just see a picture, you get it much easier and quicker. They also incorporated sidewalks and what's required and when it's allowed, or what is necessary for any like new or additional sidewalks that can be established, and how to go about that. Solar energy, design standards. They did address signage, which we've seen lots of sign ordinances over the last year. They also added the missing middle overlay, which is directly taken from their master plan. And they added a lighting component and landscaping. So under the definitions, they cleaned up some definitions, clarified some areas within them, and in some cases where it was more relevant, they put the definition within that context, such as describing what a marina was. You know, it would be under the special land use and an explanation of that. So they some that they added, they clarified what the township is, that they're St. Joseph Charter Township. And then they also added conditional zoning under their zoning amendments, like the process for under zoning amendments. Under Article 3, there's zoning districts. They cleaned up and changed those zoning districts. So they removed several, they removed an R5, which was a general residence, a B3 oriented, and a B4. So they consolidated some of those, and then they also removed a conservancy district and made it more addressed under as an overlay, not a separate entity in itself. So the new districts are their single family R1, their low density. So R1 is single family low density, R2 is single family medium density, and R3 is the mixed density residential district. R4 is the multifamily residential district. So they didn't just have they got rid of the generalized, kind of just put them into those categories. Under their commercial, they have the limited business district and the general business district. They separated an auto-oriented and a commercial recreational. They're just consolidating them down to two. Industrial, they have limited industrial and general industrial. So those are the new districts established. Under their permitted and special land uses, they created that in a more in a table format as opposed to all text of each district and what's allowed and what isn't allowed. So it keeps it accessible, easy to access and see what is allowed, what is not. If there was a use you wanted to know if it's allowed in the zoning district you're in, you can just kind of go right to the table and make sure that way. I think that's one of the easier ways to make it accessible and easy for that section. And then under the schedule of regulations, they also put a table listing out the minimum and maximum, the structure, height, setback for each of the districts. And under that Article 5, so I don't know if I stated it, in their old zoning districts, they also had a floodplain district, and they took that out of the new established district and addressed it under this, under the schedule of regulations, the floodplain overlay. So they still have these in there. They just have kind of cleaned it up, made it flow easier. I put these illustrations in here just so you could see this. The lot types makes it much clearer and easier for you to understand what a through lot is, an interior lot, a corner lot, and a reverse corner lot. And then there's the table of permitted uses. So it makes it very easy for someone to see what community uses are, residential uses, and commercial uses, and what's allowed, what are the uses. And then it even has in the far right, I think, a link that's hyperlinked that you can just go right to that, and it will give you the specifications or the requirements related to a drive-in movie theater as a special use in a B2. They also made some changes into their site plan process. One of the I think the added point is to acknowledge that they took the administrative approval versus the planning commission giving the zoning administrative authority. So they're helping to streamline the process, that if you meet all the requirements that are within the site plan, then it can be reviewed and then approved and forwarded on. So that way it helps. I think in the intent is to help not hold up a development process or a site plan approval from not being able to meet the requirements for the planning commission. So it allows a little more administrative authority to the zoning administrator, who would then in turn report that back to their planning commission. They reworked their zoning board of appeals to make it, it just seemed to flow better in the newer, in the amendment that seems to just kind of follow the PA 110 as their guide, the Planning Enabling Acts, the Zoning Enabling Acts. And they also added that, as it mentioned earlier, in their supplemental district regulations, they added the sidewalks, solar energy, commercial and mixed use design standards, and just clarified what those steps are, what the process is, and regulations under that. Under Article 10 for their signs, they just made some updates to basically address some of the recent Supreme Court cases in regards to the types of signs and where and when you can post them. And they also added that missing middle overlay and how to go about that, where it seems to fit best in the zoning districts and or properties that could be beneficial for that alternative missing middle to attract a variety of housing types. And then they added the landscaping provision, and under that, they put the provisions for what's kind of expected of all property owners, but then also it's more specific to site plans, the applicability of what to put in or the criteria within the site plan. So it lays it all out fairly clearly to the user that is going to, if they're doing a site plan and they need to incorporate all of the necessary items. So their planning commission did review all this and they recommended approval. I don't have for certain if it did get reviewed by their attorney, but as always, that's just a common statement that we would send back to the municipality before adopting it, just to make sure that they are in compliance with, if there are other laws that maybe are not, they're incorrect with. So we just want to make sure that they are in compliance with other laws and have their attorney review them. And I think that pretty much covers all of the things that I found. I thought overall there was nothing that was inappropriate, or I didn't see anything that was glaring that could be of concern or conflict within the ordinance. And they did seek assistance through a planning agency. I think McKenna provided some technical assistance with them, with their planning commission.
Katie, can you give me a little bit of an explanation of what a missing middle overlay is?
I can. Oh, see, now I'm off of it, so I can go. Let me stop sharing, and I will maybe even just, what did I do here? Sometimes like these, I use these icons all the time, and you'd think I should be like a pro at being able to pull stuff up, but man.
I just feel happy that somebody else just gets confused as heck when you're working with stuff on the computer. Yeah, my wife always accused me of having fat fingers, pressing too many buttons.
Okay, so I'm just going to show, I just Googled missing middle, so let me get myself back to sharing my screen. I apologize. There. So can you see
Yes.
like a web search? Okay. So really this is what I wanted to show you, and I don't know how I can make it bigger, but this is what you got.
So we're talking about the size of the housing?
Yes. So here we have what's considered our basic single family attached or detached housing unit. And then at the other end of the spectrum, we have a downtown high-rise type of apartment living urban setting. And so what the state of Michigan has, and many other Midwestern states have kind of identified, is that we have this missing middle. Here's a better example that shows kind of the different types of housing or that can attract and retain new investment. And so this courtyard apartment, a bungalow court, a townhouse, a multiplex, a live and work kind of environment. So these are generally, they're not the huge high-rise type units or multifamily housing, but they're kind of somewhere in the middle between, sometimes it could be a duplex, but usually it's a fourplex or a sixplex or the townhouse style housing. And so the intent is that it can be, generally it's also attractive because it has walkability and several of the other features. It's also new, that's because it's not here. So if it gets built or developed, it is new, and that's attracting people into the area and investment. So that is something that I know for St. Joe Township, they added it to their master plan because, one, it's also a good plug if they wanted to do that redevelopment ready communities. But they also recognize that the St. Joe Township is pretty much built out. There isn't much infill projects. And if there were infill projects, then they would want to encourage it or make it available or make the opportunity for someone to be able to do a project like this and then have the guidelines of how they can go about doing it. There's no hidden surprises of, nope, you can't do that now because of X, Y, and Z. So it's just kind of helping lay out the groundwork and how to go about it. But this is what Missing Middle is. It's something a little more construct than just a single family home, but it's not a huge apartment complex.
I know that we have gone over this in the past, but I just needed that update. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Thank you,
So
Katie.
that's how I.
For discussion.
So with that, if no one else has comments, I'll just share with them that we reviewed this and any other.
I think you could say that it appears to be very well done. I understand that it was an extensive rewrite, actually, and a lot of labor's gone into this. So good work.
Yeah.
And I think it's fair to say that there's a consensus that we would approve, although we can't take a formal vote on it. Something like that.
Right.
Okay, if there's nothing else about the St. Joe Charter Township, we'll move on to miscellaneous and the Planning Commission bylaws, and then the master plan update. Katie,
Okay.
Planning Commission.
Thank you. So with the Planning Commission bylaws, we brought that up last month and we kind of just hit some highlights within the Planning Commission with you all about it became more apparent as we were losing several members kind of all at once. And we've never been in that kind of position. As we started to look through our Planning Commission bylaws, there's some discrepancies between what's in the bylaws from the numbers of members and their areas of interest and representation to what's also in our ordinance. And so what I'd like to do is just have maybe a few members kind of have a little bylaws committee that we would just go over and make some changes and amendments to bring back to you for your review next month. And if you feel that there needs to be additional considerations, we could address them at that point. But at least the main areas that we want to do some cleanup is identifying the areas of, or the sections of of areas of interest of members, the membership, because it lists 9 and we have 11 on our Planning Commission.
Okay, Katie, we talked about this a few days back and you asked if I'd be part of that, and I'm happy to do that. Greg, as vice chair, would you be willing to be part of a little subcommittee looking at the bylaws?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay.
And
I don't see this taking much time. We can just, we can
Yeah.
have a meeting and then follow up through emails, coordinate that way.
Terry, I think of you as being kind of an expert on bylaws and such like. Do you want to have some input into this? Does anybody else want to join in?
I mean, if you would like for me to be there, I'm only an expert because I typically have it in front of me. But
You're wise.
if you'd like for me to be a part of it, but I trust that Katie and Annette also will
Yeah.
have a good grasp on this.
Maybe we should just leave it that you'll send Katie whatever input you'd like to make sure it gets into this revision process, or call me.
Perfect.
That would be delightful. I'm frankly hoping that I can reach every member of the commission, including you, Terry, and just have a general conversation, get to know each other a little better, and see what your thoughts are about the planning commission going forward.
Certainly. That sounds great.
Great. Katie, does that meet your needs?
Yes, thank you.
Anything you want to say about the master plan update?
Just that it's being updated.
We're working on it.
And we're working
Until we
on
have
it. It's
Full complement of members, it's a little premature to try to make any big decisions about the master plan.
yeah.
I'm
And
quite sure that the county commission will proceed in a timely fashion to supply us with some extra members. Terry, is it your understanding that it's, what is it, PHCR or PHCS committee, Personnel and Human Services, that votes initially on the applicants and does interviews if they choose to do so?
This would actually be through the finance committee because this is housed under community development, which the parent committee for community development is the finance committee.
I see. Okay.
How many applicants do we have? Do you know? Terry? Or-
Annette, last I heard we had 8. We may have more.
Annette, are you listening?
yeah, Annette's looking into it. Moment,
I see.
please.
She's counting.
What?
Annette
She is
counting.
counting.
All right, I asked you how many applicants we have for these empty positions, and someone said 8. Is that correct?
That was a first guess, but we're counting to see if that's accurate.
Oh,
10. We have 10. Thank you,
10.
Annette.
and
And at the moment. Okay.
you know where they're from? Throughout the
I don't.
You don't know who they are or where they're from?
I do
Rod.
not.
No.
This is Commissioner Freeling. They're throughout the county, lots of different areas. So geographically, we're represented in those applications for people throughout Berrien County.
Good.
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 If I can ask a quick question relative to what we talked about in the new master plan. Can someone just, as a new member for me, explain just very briefly, how do we process that through the planning commission and then place it before the full commissioners for their approval?
Katie?
So the master plan gets approved. The planning commission would review it or make the recommendation to approve it, and then they forward it on to the county board of commissioners, who would then make it formal. There is a public hearing that has to happen, and we also accept, just like we reviewed the city of Coloma's master plan, they're in that review period phase before their public hearing to accept the master plan.
Are we like the creators of the plan?
Yes.
So we have an internal review process that leads up to those steps you just described.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Other thoughts about the master plan? Questions from anybody?
No.
If not, we've completed our formal agenda. Is there any other business from anybody else?
We have some notes from the last meeting of the Southwest Michigan Planning Commission. If you'd like me to expound upon those.
Yes.
So the last meeting the last meeting that we had was on the 15th of December. And there was an item on there that we talked about the rural task force reconstruction of 1.82 miles of Red Arrow Highway, and that's in Chickamee Township. And that has to do with putting in some non-motorized pathways and some crossings. I don't know exactly where that is in Chickamay Township, but my thought is that it's right around where the intersection of Sawyer Road comes into Red Arrow Highway and in that particular area.
Okay,
Also, the final report on the completion of the Napier Avenue project is now done. And if you'd like to look into that, you can search for that video. It's on YouTube. And you'll find all the information on that particular project.
Under Southwest Michigan Planning Commission? On your,
It could be. I in my hastiliness to take the notes, I didn't put down where that could be found, other than the fact that I did remember that said it was a YouTube video on the completion of that project. So maybe you'll just be able to Google it or search it on YouTube. The 7-county non-motorized map is out. As of the 15th of December, it was still in boxes in a transportation office in Kalamazoo. But if you'd like more, you can go to the Southwest Michigan Planning Commission website and you can take a look at where that non-motorized map is. And I have a link to where that is. Every year, the Southwest Michigan Planning Commission awards a leadership award. It's called the Welch Lackey Award for Outstanding Leadership. And I'm proud to say that it was our own Terry Freeling who was given this award. So congratulations to Terry on that award, because she certainly
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Another award that the Southwest Michigan Planning Commission gives out every year is one called the Grand Woodhouse Award. And that's for projects that were completed by multiple government or organizations that work together that impact the surrounding areas for whatever purposes. And this year it was awarded to the group that put together and implemented the Paw Paw River Water Trail. And this is a 68 miles of navigable waterways. It encompasses over 2 counties, 9 townships, and several organizations, public and private, who work together to accomplish this project. And you can go to the pawpawrivertrail.org to find out more, and also to find access points to the river. Probably one of the biggest things that we talked about during the last meeting was the Michigan Public Act 224 of 2020. That particular act was passed, and it has to do with broadband expansion. There were several things that we found, or the Southwest Michigan Planning Commission in itself found, that they needed to kind of change. And so the flaws in this act were put into a letter and sent back to the government to see if we couldn't address these and put revisions to that act in there. There are a ton of them out there, but the main thing was that they rejected to was they need to penalize suppliers for not following through. And I think this is one thing that we can do as a planning commission, is really emphasize this when municipalities, when townships go through their master plans, that they really take a look at what's going on with their communities. We need to put some type of pressure on the services that supply these internet services to the rural areas, because basically it's a private industry. And if they're not making the money, or if they don't show that they can make money in an area, a lot of times that area gets underserved or no service whatsoever. And if we're going to have a viable county that is good for people that want to come there, this is something that's going to be extremely important, as we've seen through this last year of pandemic, where everyone is doing what we're doing now via Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have access to this, it's a real hindrance.
Yeah.
So anyway, they did send that letter out. I don't know what the results were, but I'm sure there'll be more to come in our next meeting when we get together. And Terry might be able to have some additional insights as to what might be going on, since I think she had to sign that letter.
I know that Terry's been working on internet access at the level of the county commission as a topic of concerns. Okay, thank you, Jim. If there are no other comments from other members, and I'm pausing to listen, then I think we should stand adjourned. Correct me if I'm wrong, Katie, but I believe the next meeting is on Tuesday, February 9th at 2:30 in the afternoon, again by Zoom as this one.
That is correct.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. We'll look to see you then.
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn.
Support.
Thank you.
Do I have to do a
I don't know
roll?
that we need to take a formal vote on that. I think we can,
Yeah.
unless I'm,
I'll support that.
all
Okay.
right.
All those in
Say
favor?
aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
By acclamation, we are adjourned.
Right.
Thank
Okay.
Thank you all. Have a good
And
one.
a big thank you to Eric and Greg for accepting the nominations to serve as our